4, 3, 2. Hi, I'm Rosemary Malkovich from 3ABN Australia, and I'm here at the 2025 General Conference session in St. Louis, and this is the 3ABN booth. And I am so glad to be able to introduce you to the guest I have with me, Pastor D.W. West. And D.W., welcome.
Thank you.
I want you to give everybody who's listening and watching just a brief part of your testimony, because you have a great testimony and we haven't got time to do a big one. So
all right,
go
yes.
for it.
God has been so good. In fact, for those, if this blesses you, you can go to 3ABN Plus and you can look for Tell Somebody About Jesus, and you can see the whole thing. But let me just give you a short little version now. You see, I grew up and we came into the Seventh-day Adventist Church in 1995 under a meeting by Dr. Russell Burrell. What ended up happening was we were really into the church. In fact, they said a little child will lead them goes a long way. You know that verse in Isaiah?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the plan was that I was going to become a pastor. I was going to be a preacher. They knew this at 9 years old. Unfortunately, they got rid of the youth program and we ended up leaving the church. My mom ended up in federal prison and it just was awful. So what ended up happening, instead of me being able to go to church because they got rid of youth programs, I turned to drugs, I turned to alcohol, and you can hear more about that in my story on Tell Somebody About Jesus. But God, He is always working on us. The Holy Spirit works on us before we ever even realize it. And because I had a foundation by going to the local church school, I got a Facebook message. Come to 10 nights of prayer. If you would just come to 10 nights of prayer. So I came one night. I was high on cocaine. I was drunk. I drank 120 proof whiskey, bourbon, and I was really high. And we prayed. And in fact, Valerie and Pastor Daniel Morricone were there. And I began to cry like a baby. I went downstairs. I gave my life back to the Lord. And I flushed all the drugs down the toilet. And I never have touched any alcohol, and I have never done any drugs since then. And God is so good. You know, I was in the entertainment industry. I played music all over the place, and I made a lot of money. And I also had a professional wrestling company. So this is what my wife and I did. So my wife wasn't an Adventist yet. They brought me in, made me I taught physical education. I taught music, I had a choir at the same school I went to. So then Pastor Daniel said, let's make you a youth pastor. Within a year of that, they made me a church planter in the Mountain View Conference and even in the Ohio Conference. Ended up eventually with 4 churches, saw hundreds of baptisms. God has just really blessed us. My wife came into the church. She became the administrative assistant to the president.
Did you baptize her?
I got to baptize her and re-baptize my mother, and I believe it was on the same day. So it was a huge blessing. Because here's the thing, God will use us if we're willing. And you know, you got to think, this was 2019. It's 2025, and God put me in the General Conference. God put me at Adventist World Radio. Now I travel, I go to Africa, I go to Europe, I go to all these places, and God has just blessed me. So I want to bless others with the message of Jesus Christ.
That's right.
So my job is to go out and tell somebody about Jesus. So I love doing that. I'm going to continue doing that. And my wife and I are so blessed to be a part of Adventist World Radio and to be a part of the General Conference. And for anybody who may be struggling with something at home, your time is not up, okay? You don't have to give up now. You can give it over to the Lord, and I promise you, it only took one night. I struggled. I went through struggles. But in one night, I was able to give it all up when I gave it to Jesus.
You are so enthusiastic for God. And it's wonderful to talk with you and to see what God has been able to do with you. You are an evangelist. That is your heart, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm sure you've been blessed by just this brief idea of his testimony, go to the 3ABN Plus and see the rest.